What is a good man? Is it a man who would never kill? Or is it a man who would kill to protect his family and his honor? Is a good man unaware that he's good? And if so, has he any idea of a bad man? Could that man be himself? At this point, the only real question remaining would be, do good men really exist? Perhaps the good man is defined by how much guilt he carries for his actions, and in effect, those actions being the things that could otherwise make him a bad person. Would he feel guilt for his thoughts or actions had they been performed in a completely neutral environment? No. No environment is neutral if it's inhabited by a man, even if only one. Man himself is a completely chaotic force of both positive and negative energy. In a theoretically neutral environment, the man would create a positive environment for himself with nothing detracting from his ego, rendering him godlike in his own mind. He would possess no concept of guilt or sin or even mortality, and all that could exist is the childlike luminosity that so vibrantly expands well beyond the finite limits of conscious conception. This is comparable to the vibrating energy of the constantly expanding universe and its lights still echoing through the eons to write the ever-interpretational and cryptic messages of the heavens, which is made in physical sense by the initial spark, the light switch, the idea, that continues tirelessly to shed light into the farthest reaches of the flaccid ripples of a placid abyss in an unconscious, frozen shadow. Consciousness is burning. Consciousness is the heat that sets the particles of dark matter into friction, slowly turning the gears of the black forbidden clock. Consciousness is creation of conscience and constant cosmic coincidence. Consciousness is the flame that turns sand into glass, the sea into air, forest into field. Constantly, consciously unaware of the consciousness that this planet yields. Life is only an automated journey down a stream of subconsciousness, a dream. What people call death is only the beginning. The stream of subconsciousness lives all leads to the same sea of oneness, with reality set free. The stream and the sea lend one another back and forth, round and round, just as a dream is influenced by life, and life is even more so influenced by dreams. Men walk the lucid sleep in the day, constantly searching for the truth, buried in the night's dark pit of forgotten memory. This act is the defining characteristic of all men. As it is so universally applicable, it would be redundant to devalue such an extreme by calling it good or bad. It's simply something that is. The fact of forgetting what is always constantly present, subconscious or not, is fitting with the contradiction of guilt defining how good a man is. By this logic and the aforementioned spiel, all men would be inherently good. But this, of course, raises the question, where does evil come from if men are inherently good? By all apparent logic, evil is a socio-psychological construct utilized mostly in the unification and segregation of people and ideas, or realists and idealists. The uses of the construct are obvious and have eternally coexisted with God, and with good reason, that being the formation of philosophy, ideology, society, community, blah, 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 so on. However, nothing is ever as it was more than once. Whether it's a clock at a certain minute, a familiar scent, or a lover's sleeping breath, none are ever the same way twice. The comfort or distress that you may seem to feel may feel the same, but it really does not feel the same. It has adapted, withered or grown, it has evolved. Just as you can't look at the back of your hand the same way twice, you can't look at a description of good and evil the same way twice, especially if that twice is a reference in length to millennia. Ideas evolve, society evolves, and nature evolves, and people evolve. We evolve and adapt, and as representatives of a species consciously capable of choosing to do that or not, we owe it to the ideas that got us this far to violently disassemble and cannibalize every last part of them until something more fulfilling materializes. To demonstrate the deconstruction of these ideals and their forbidden fluids, I will go back to the beginning. The beginning means curtains open, spotlight. There was God. Some say he was there since before the beginning, so this is as good a place as any to start imagining him. God is said to be all good, that's the name, and to have created mankind in his image. However, people ended up not being as perfect as God, all because of one mistake that he made. one perfect mistake. God made a beautiful angel that even he possibly believed could become more capable than he, the Almighty One himself. One day God may have even passed the entire universe down to him. Realizing God Almighty's great confidence in his vast capability, named Lucifer for right now, Lucifer himself began to feel something beneath his holy modesty. He could feel pride, belief in himself more than the Lord who created him. This got rumors of a righteous brawl circulating the empty airwaves of the cosmos. God began wishing he'd kept his mouth shut, as now he'd felt he'd lost the morale of his obedient creations. God figured that anybody defiant enough to believe himself superior to the status quo ought to be made a historical example of. His decision was to enslave his once beloved angel into a torturous dungeon packed to the brinks of burning lakes with dreadful and tortured and confused souls whose lives all landed alike on the wrong side of the same coin. Lucifer is referred to as the devil. He is said to bring all evil and fault to humanity's actions and thoughts, thus the name. Now, this story strikes me as fascinatingly anti-evolution. By saying God made man in his image and that God is perfect, attempting to become anything higher than the standard of God or the status quo would be a satanic act. Aside from the obvious correlation between this and the creationist movement, I see a deeper connection. Mythology of this flavor always has found function in times of war and revolution because the surface area of the black and white text can look pretty damn thin when you're running through gunfire. What's interesting about that story is that it's not only apparently anti-evolution, but very clearly anti-revolution as well. At this point, I'd like to chalk up these contradictions and plot holes and overlookings as foibles of historical intellect. But I'm eating a carcass here, and I would like not even a drop of blood left for the insects. Basically, what I gather from this moral blank of logical nonsense is that revolution, greater sign to revolution is greater than evolution, or equal to or less than. Basically, if you don't understand what I'm saying, you probably won't understand from looking at it either. You should see it at the bottom. I don't know, whatever. Obviously, the act of revolution is a mark of progress and instigator of evolution, so why not just call it evolution? When I examine the concept of social revolution, I encounter something of a stalemate with myself. Revolution, or the desire thereof, is a constant characteristic of even the tiniest civilization. The characteristics of the revolutionaries remain constant as well, regardless of when or what their purpose. Revolution, for this very reason, can never truly be achieved on a social scale simply because it would be a paradox. Society is in a constant state of revolution against its own state of revolution. People say humanity is doomed because of this to a broken record history because of our love of unabashed disregard for future generations. A social revolution of good against evil or vice versa is impossible because revolution is a personal phenomenon. It is constantly happening, however, and is even more constantly wanting to be understood and expressed. The result is that your personal resolution with yourself, with your art, with your family becomes revolution. Resolution is determined by your conscience and is the missing link between revolution and evolution. Seeing as the determination relies on a realization of the conscience, a full-scale revolution would be impossible unless every individual did separately at the same time, because a society has no singular conscience. Life is a subconscious stream, and you will always be stuck in a state of constant revolution because you will always be swimming against that current. By accepting what you cannot change instead of seeking the power and utilities to destroy it, we can find revolution, we can find resolution, and we can evolve. From this, all I can gather is that there is no God and possibly a devil. As evil does not exist before it cannot be conceived, all men are born evil. God seems merely a construct of self-defense, created by man in his own image, just as the devil created man to create God, to create the devil, and to create man in his own image, and blah, blah, blah. Mankind would not have the capacity to see itself, however it does now, without this belief, and as such literally would not exist without this belief. Just like a constant state of revolution between the real and the fantasy, the definition of a man is his self-perpetuated lack of will and freedom due to the mirror that he sees between everything and himself. Everything that a man sees is a mirror. At times, he will not know that it is a mirror, and he will bark at it or attack it like a dog. People often neglect the true beauty of what they see in an actual mirror due to the metaphorical projections that they've dressed themselves inside and out with. Objection is revolution. Rejecting your reflection is a lie and will give it the illusion of rejecting you in return. Acceptance and embracement is resolution. From here, evolution is boundless growth and never ending. If you see it in yourself, you are free to see it in anything, just like a world of beautiful mirrors reflecting off of beautiful mirrors, reflecting off of beautiful mirrors. With this held as close to the forefront of your conscious mind at all times, the mirror will only possess the natural gratitude that all things have in a shared moment of beauty. You can communicate with the mirror as long as you approach it fearlessly and like a window. You should come to realize that you too are just a mirror and have been all along. A global subconscious hallucination is often projected from the minds of persons to mask the truth of a mirror. However, masks and lies are nearly always contain far deeper truths to an eye unafraid of itself. Seeing people like this makes it troublesome to define any specific set of human characteristics as good or bad, because when you see them like this, you see them more as just good liars and bad liars. The difference lies in the intention. My intention is obviously that of a narcissist. I want to see as much of myself as I can, in as much as I can, however I can, because I am a mirror. Can you not see me in yourself?